What's up, everybody? It's your host, Hector T. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be doing a video on something I was kind of dreading for this car, but it has to be done. We're going to do a head gasket replacement, which is going to be fun. Yeah. What's up? Hey, guys. So, basically, it's a 2005 Nissan Altima. Altimore. It could be Altimore. It could be more than what it is. 4-cylinder. Very, very common issue because these engines get very hot is for the head gasket to blow, which it did. It's only at like 145,000 miles, so it's expected to have blown a little sooner, but it lasted as long, which is good. Now mind me in the background noises because I am outside doing this. I don't have a garage to be working on this car, so it's gonna be hot. I got this cover over me. Hopefully it works. Got that helicopter flying by, looking for somebody. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I really need to get one of those tents. But anyways, alright, so basically, easiest way to know that your head gasket's gone is when you go and change the oil and it's goopy and milky and or has green stuff coming out because that's the coolant. Coolant I use is the 50/50 and it's green, so if it leaks you could see it. And I like using that for that reason. But yeah, so basically, I do have to fix my valve cover too, because I have a bolt that was in there. Apparently the retorquing these bolts over and over, because the valve cover, the O-rings for the spark plugs do go very fast on these covers because they're cheap, and you have to replace the whole valve cover. So torquing these things over and over and over and over, they broke. They break easier. So one already broke. I have to actually get a new set. I'm going to be getting that later on, once I head over to the machine shop for the cylinder head. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing, is I have to fix that. I have to drill that out, the piece that broke off in there, drill that out, get another set of bolts to be able to put it on right when I put it back in, and then everything else. So yeah, so basically all of these are 10s. These are 10s, these are 10s, these are 10s, these are 10s. Up here, the throttle body's 10s. A lot of 10s on this car, makes it easier. The timing covers are 10s all around. You do have to take all these off. You do have to find the TDC, which it's pretty easy on this car. You gotta take the belt off because you're gonna have to remove the alternator to remove the exhaust from there, which I'm gonna have another video replacing this exhaust. And then you do have to come back here and take off the intake, which everything else is connected along with the intake, so it just kind of all pushes away. Now, I don't have my stand, and this is a different camera than what I'm usually used to using. So mind the video, I guess you could say, because it's not going to be straight recording like I usually do. But I am going to do, like, at least take pictures of everything as I go, if I can't record it as I go. Which is kind of why I'm doing the steps now. You got to take off the thermal housing. Actually the thermostat on this car was just recently replaced about 20,000 miles ago, so I don't need to do that. But it's always good to check your thermometer, and the thermostat and everything. Yeah, the thermostat, and check it, see if it's good or not. Replace it since you already have it open. Same thing with the water pump. Same thing. It was already replaced when they did the thermostat because it kept overheating. That's the problem with this car. It heats a lot. Running temperatures. I've seen it running. I have my diagnostics that it goes up to goes to 200 very easily, which is getting pretty hot for a little 4-banger. And then of course once you hit once you start getting into the 210s to 220s, that's when it's overheating. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened. as you can see here, this was a little bit dirtier, but because it's not sealed here from the missing bolt, oil is leaking, and when it was overheating I was driving it, a lot of oil just got everywhere. That's why it's kind of slick here on the harness, because it did get oil. But brake fluid cleaner, this was covered. Brake fluid cleaner gets it right off, and it dries, so you don't have to worry about anything happening. I even got some on the engine mount, a little bit back there. But yeah, so basically an easy way, just step-by-step kind of thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with these, take out the spark plugs, find the TDC through the spark plug hole. I'm going to put my extension. I have a nice long, super long extension like this. I'm literally just going to throw it onto the piston and watch it go up and down while I find the TDC. Which, maybe I might make a separate video for TDC, easy way, more detailed. Find the TDC, get it lined up. I have my I got this little whiteout, but it'll be good for marking stuff because I don't have a white marker. And then what we're going to do is actually just take off this cover of the timing chain, this front, and this back. Now the back you have to wait until you get the valve cover off. But we're going to take off the front, we're going to take off the back, and so that way we don't have to actually take off the whole timing chain component, excuse me. And it's going to make it a lot easier. Valve cover's got to be removed, intake's got to be removed, this got to be removed to remove this, because there's a bolt back here. This has to be removed, the housing, so you do have to drain radiator a little bit, because it is kind of full. I can feel the water. Here, it's swishing. And then, of course, then you get in, take off the cams, make sure you mark it for the TDC, so the timing's not off, timing's correct. Take the cams out, take the springs and everything out, mark everything, and then unbolt it. Hopefully I should have the right bolts to unbolt the head. Now I do have to go make a run to the store. But yeah, so that's pretty much the procedure. And of course, don't forget, I'm doing a metal gasket replacement, which is going to be better than the normal ones that go on here. So I do have to get my cylinder head machined. Hopefully the block is still smooth. If not, I'm being honest, I'm going to sand it down with hand sand, just whatever's like stuck on from the old gasket, and make sure it's smooth. I do still have my my sander. I might need to use that, but like I said, I don't want to do that with the cylinder head, because usually the cylinder head's more worse than the block. A lot of times I've actually seen doing head gasket removals where the block's still perfectly fine, like nothing even stuck onto it, no gunk, no warp, no nothing. So of course, while I do that, while I have cylinder head in the shop, I'm gonna sit there and finish cleaning everything, clean out the cams, clean out the springs, clean everything up, make it nice and smooth, and then put it all back together once we get it in. So this video will be done over the next few days, I guess you could say. Today, taking everything out. Tomorrow, putting everything back in when the cylinder head comes in. Because it should only take a day, they said. Because it's 4-cylinder and they're not too busy. Actually, if I could get there early enough today, I might be able to get it done today. Do the video either later today or tomorrow, depending on the light conditions. But yeah, so that's what today's video is going to be. Like I said, if I can't do stream video like this, it's going to be snapshots of everything. I will be as detailed as I can, so that way those of you who need to do the exact same procedure as me can follow right along. Or if you just need a general idea of how to do it on your car, if you have a different car, then it'll still be detailed enough for you to get the generalized idea of what you're going to be doing. But yeah, so if you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already to my channel, where you can check out other videos. I will have links at the end of this video to other videos on my channel. And of course hit the bell icon, so that way you get alerted, a notification when I upload more videos, because I have more videos for this car, like I keep saying. This is one, I got another one coming out that I had to do, and yeah. So let's get into it. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just dive in, honestly, because I need to start draining the radiator fluid, get the hoses dried, at least the top hose, get that dried out so there's nothing coming out leaking when I take it off. And I need to take off the belts and find the TDC, and yeah, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. Alright, so these are all 10s. Start off removing those. Wow, that came right off. It's just a wobble socket, I guess. Alright, so like I said, we'll start with these. Find the TDC. Really good. Plus I need to take spark plugs. I need to take everything out of here anyways, because I'm getting machined. So these are all 10s. Like I said, a lot of these bolts are going to be 10s. Oh, and before you start taking things apart, make sure you disconnect the battery, because these are electrical components. Alright, so let's go ahead, we'll take these out, and then we'll start with cylinder number 1. This is the one where you find the TDC. Alright, so the intake for me, the exhaust is easy to take off, really easy. Unfortunately, I did on this bracket, the bolt is stripping, so I'm gonna have to take that off later. But for the intake is proven to be a real pain in the butt, because if you want to take the whole thing off, the bolts are down there. They're just really hard to get into there, and I don't have any wobble sockets or anything like that to try to bend a wrench or a socket wrench into. And my wrenches, I have short wrenches, so unfortunately I don't have anything that long. They are 12s down there, as long as I have, and as you can see, it goes all the way down, and I don't have much leeway. So what I found doing, it's much easier, taking the bolts off from back here, some bolts there, and then you have to remember the outer ones are just the, like, the heads, or the washer things, and then the inner one, the one in the middle is the shortest one, and then the two outside here are the longest ones. You have to remember that. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off piece by piece. Now, I recommend having a whole new gasket set when you do this, just in case if you need to replace these gaskets. I'll actually put a link. I found a pretty good reliable source on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for those gaskets. It was like $64.99, and I got all the gaskets, including O-rings, which are very important. So when you're disassembling it, obviously you take off the tube first, and then the throttle body, the bolts that they use, so for the throttle body, the bolts that they use are these kinds. I forget what they're called. They're actually very similar to the head bolts, which you'll also need to replace. These you don't need to replace, but the head bolts you do, because you need to be the torque breaks them. But yeah, so these, just make sure you have one of the sockets for these. These aren't a normal socket. So I don't have the conventional ones, so what I had to do is I had to actually get one of the bits. I had a set of bits lying around, took the bit and just converted it onto my ratchet. But yeah, so take this off, and they're pretty long, so they take a minute or two to unscrew. Now, you do also have another bracket. There's a bracket on that side over there, takes one 10mm bolt, and then there's another bracket on this side which holds on the intake, which is right here, that you need to take off. Ideally just take off like these bolts and then just leave the rest. Well, actually you gotta take off the whole thing just to connect it to the head. But yeah, just take all that out. Take out that sensor with it, and then take out this bracket and the thermostat housing from this side, and it makes it a lot easier. So let me go ahead, because I need 2 hands. I can take this off and catch it with my hands, and I'll get piece by piece going through the intake. Alright, so now with the top piece, you just need the manifold. Which with the top piece off, it's a lot easier, honestly. See, mine's kind of dirty. I might need to clean it up a little bit. But yeah, so you just disconnect the coolant hoses down here. Release it from the bracket here. You got the bracket back here for the harness. That's a 10 millimeter. It's 12 millimeters on this bracket. On the intake, there's these 3 upper bolts, which are 12. These are the long ones. This one and this one are the long ones. This is the short one. That one and that one are behind the long ones, and they're short. And then, of course, on these E-Torques, which I'm not going to take off because I don't need to, there's just like the nut that goes on both sides. You just take those off. All of it's about a 12, and it's, yeah. And then you got the fuel line bracket. You just take it off, and then you have this hose coming from the fuel filter to spurt some gas in there. You take that off. Make sure no gas spurts out. And with that top piece off, it makes it a lot easier now. You just come in here, take off these ones, and then this one's kind of tucked back in there. It's hard to see. There we go. But yeah, take those off, and then you get the intake off, and then from there you just work onto the front. Easy peasy. So with the intake manifold loose and the exhaust manifold loose, exhaust manifold can be a bit of a pain. Like this, you can see the rust just kind of really cakes on from the heat and any liquid getting onto them. But just pull it off when I need to. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. That's it. They're 14 millimeter. Now with the cam cover, timing cover, I should say, the top part. So not taking off the whole thing at all, not at all. Alright, so yeah, it's a bit oily. I did drain some oil, but can't get it all from up here. Now there's a guide in there right on top. You can see right under the chain. You got to take that out because that's a guide for it. You got to break off these bolts. Usually I'd use an impact wrench, but I don't think I'm really gonna have enough space. So because the engine's dead and hopefully shouldn't crank, actually I'm gonna see if I could take off the guide and the tensioner, and then that should allow me to actually just be able to take off the chain so it doesn't spin the crank while trying to take off the cam gears, because I know they're torqued down pretty hard. Now down there, in that corner down there, towards the lower left of the opening, there is a little tensioner with a spring. You have to be really careful with that spring. Try to use a magnet and a pin to hold it in place. Let's see if I can snag a picture. I don't have a magnet, so I'm gonna have to do it by hand, but I'm gonna try to get a little pin. Usually a push pin does the trick, and it'll hold it in place. Now all of that is the gunky grease and oil, because it is caked on. Here's the cover. Let me show you. Pretty much it's going to be like this. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one actually isn't a bolt to hold it on. It's all the ones with the ring around them. These 2 are actually grounds, so those have the shorter bolts. And then this one right here by the plug for the sensor, and then that one down there, and that one underneath, right there. Yeah. So those ones are a little bit harder to get to. I did have to move the bracket that's over the motor mount, which is attached to the motor mount. So be careful when you take that off, not to actually take off the motor mount. But yeah, so I just got to clean this up. I got some degreaser. I'm going to spray it in there because it is gunked on. It's caked on pretty good. Clean this up as best I can. Got to clean that up a little bit, and then I'm going to move on to the next step once I get the gears and the chain out from there. Alright, so what I found works the best and the easiest way, because the bolts on the cam gears are really tight, and they just kind of turn a little bit when you take it off. I suggest power tools, but I don't have a way to use my impact wrench here, or impact gun, because I don't have an extension to get out here. So what I did was I have a 10-inch adjustable wrench. I literally hold this one on the lobe while using this breaker bar, so I have a lot of leverage on the bolts, and you just kind of turn one and pull the other. But I suggest a 10-inch, so it's got a nice big enough handle at least. Alright, so now once you have the gears off, there's going to be that bolt, that bolt, that bolt, and then that bolt over there. There we go, over there, yeah, so those ones. And that's going to go ahead and separate this back piece cover. So you don't actually, because we're not actually going to take out the whole timing cover, because I don't want to do that, and I don't need to do the timing chain yet. So just that bolt, that one, and then you're good. And then of course, on the case itself, this one I forgot to undo. That'll separate it from the head, cylinder head. Alright, so now once you get the gears off and you got the back cover out, you just gotta wiggle it loose pretty easily. Careful with any residual oil sitting in there. And then you take off the caps, and pretty much you can just take off the cams. It's pretty simple like that. Now, of course, they may look alike, but the easiest way to distinguish between the intake and the exhaust, that's the end of the exhaust cam, that's the end of the intake cam, because it has the little thing for the sparks, not spark plugs, the ignition coils, because it charges off of this because there's no distributor. That kind of acts like a distributor, that going to this sensor to the thing. But yeah, just an easy way to distinguish them. So now with the thermostat housing off, make sure you get the gasket and any O-rings and stuff. Definitely careful with taking this out because there's the O-ring plug, which you want to probably replace all that. But yeah, once you get the caps off and the springs, you can leave in, obviously. But pretty much what I'm going to be using, I got my nice breaker bar. And the bolts are a 10mm hex bit socket, which you can pick up from the store. So I'm going to set it individualized. So I'm going to be using that. Hopefully the leverage shouldn't be really too hard to take them off with this. But yeah, so the order is 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now don't mind the rags. That's the blue paper towels. It's these blue rags. They're actually really good for soaking up oil because there's still quite a bit in there. So just try to clean off the bolts a little bit, soaking up the oil and stuff. Yeah, but make sure you do that. So that's going to be the loosening order. You want to do doot, and pretty much you just want to click it like a little bit at a time in that order and keep going around until they all come out loose. Because it's very, very sensitive. And of course the torquing order is opposite. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so yeah, let me make sure. I was looking at that, not the camera. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so with the bolts, I found it very easy. Just doing it with this. Just no, just kidding. No, but I did two loosening sets. So I turned them all of them in order, about maybe 15 degrees, 15 to 30 degrees, just to hear that click. I did them all, then I went back again, did another 15 to 30 degrees to hear another click, and then I went back, I guess the third set this time, and the third set they're all loose. They're all loose in there now, I just gotta take them all out. So now the head bolts are loose, I gotta take them out, and then I just gotta, there's a mount way down here, about right there, holding the exhaust upwards onto this. I just actually got to reach down there. I just got to be careful with my O2 sensor bracket so I don't drop it by accident and lose the bolts. Yeah, once I take that off, I can literally just slide the whole exhaust system forward and then just start prying and yanking up the head. Yeah, the intake is there, but I could push it back. I have enough space to push that off of it. Everything else is disconnected from the cam side and the thermostat side. This I will take off before I send it to the shop. This one's starting to strip, so I'm gonna bring it inside actually after I'm done cleaning the whole cylinder head. Bring it inside where I can be able to use my impact gun and just blast that sucker off before it completely strips, and then I can't use it. And then just like the studs right here for the thermostat, these are an E8 torque socket. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually take these off too, just that way I have everything and they don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Took out the sensor here for the ignition, and then yeah, the stuff on the sides out. So yeah, that's it. So that's basically it. Sorry if this video seems a little longer than usual. I'll admit this is the first time ever removing the cylinder head of this engine that I've ever done. So yeah, it's a learning process, but that's why I said I'm trying to make it as detailed as I can through videos as I can go along doing, or if not, I can't do a video, of course, take a picture of it and label it for you guys. But yeah, this is about the halfway point. After I take it off, I'll take a picture, show you what it looks like, maybe go over a couple of things, and then I'm taking it right to the shop before they close. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Alright, so I got the head off, and I can honestly say I wasn't expecting this. I'll admit, I actually was expecting a cheap gasket. This is, I don't really know how to feel about this, honestly. Oh, dang it. This is a metal gasket. It's a dual layer steel gasket. And I don't know where it broke or unsealed. I just know it did because the coolant is in the oil. So somewhere around here it's getting through. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah, no, like I said, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting the cheap composite material gasket and stuff. Dang. So that tells me either Nissan actually started out with a metal gasket from the factory, or this car at some point in time already had a head gasket replacement. Which I'm kind of hoping the first option, because all I've got is another. It's not quite like this. It's a little different. But literally all I have is another metal, 2-layer metal gasket. I might need to swap that in for a 3-layer one, if that's the case. I don't know. Mine is a bit more form-fitting than this one, though. Like, this one's completely flat. mine has the groove so it fits better. And of course I'm going to spray it with the Permatex copper spray to seal it better. But yeah, this is a metal one. I was expecting the cheap one, which means that when I flip this bad boy over, it might actually be clean. But like I said, got a lot of stuff going on with this engine. The pistons, oh my god, they're all charred. Thankfully, the pistons are still resting at the TDC point, because the middle two are all the way down, the top two side two are all the way up. So the crank is good. I just got to make sure I line it up with the cams and the chain. And there's still a lot of fluid that got left in here, which is surprising. But I might actually need to drain this. I got a little squeeze pump to drain this out, because I don't think it's all coolant. I think there might be some splash of water in there, to be honest. Plus, I need to sit there and clean off all this fluid on the cylinders here. Let's see, got fluid here. I don't know what it is. Kind of like, it smells like coolant. It might have been from when the gasket came off, but I'll put that there. It's really liquidy. That's coolant. So there's coolant in the pistons. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't like it was just leaking into the pistons and then leaking elsewhere, maybe into the oil plugs. I don't know, because that one looks like it has some fluid in there too. So obviously I'm going to do an oil flush to clean out all this gunky oil stuff. But yeah, so now I'm just going to clean that. You got to remember to clean off here all the way around on the side here. You got to clean off the silicone, because, or not the silicone, the RTV, because you got to put some new fresh stuff. And make sure you get in this groove. There's a groove in here. It's hard to tell on the camera, I guess. And there you go. You might be able to see it there, right there. You gotta get a little thing in there and scrape that out, so when you put the new sealant, it gets in the groove and it seals better. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this out. I'm gonna pump out the remainder of the coolant in here, so I have fresh coolant in there. And then I'm gonna sit there and clean out these cylinders. And yeah, thankfully I have great compression. I did do a compression test, which I might actually do. I have my own tester. Bought it cheap. I might do a video show you guys how to do a quick compression test. It's very quick and easy. But I'll do that another time. But yeah, you could see, because nothing is getting through those from the piston heads. But I will say, these are kind of cheap pistons. Even my Maxima, they're grooved for the valves. These are just flat. Like, they're not even flat. They're like concaved. But yeah. All right. So yeah. So you clean this up. So I'm gonna clean it up and then cover it all up, so that way no contaminants get into it. And then we're gonna start cleaning off the head and get that sent off to the shop. Fun times. Fun times. Alright, everybody. So, while editing this video, I didn't realize Let's start again. Alright, so, while editing the video, I didn't realize I didn't even finish this first part, because it's a two-part series. So I'm doing the outro now. So, of course, I was able to get the cylinder head off to the shop on time, so that way they can go ahead and get it machined and a little bit cleaned off. I cleaned it off a little bit myself. They said that they're gonna go ahead and clean it off a little bit too for me. If they're not gonna do the acid bath for it, they can get it completely cleaned because that would take more time. They said I could have it done tomorrow if they just machine the bottom of it and then do a quick surface cleaning, which is basically what I did. They're just gonna, do the same thing, get a little bit more cleaner. But yeah, so that's over at the shop. I'm editing the video. So this is the end of the first part of this video. If you like the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you like it. And of course, go ahead and leave me some comments below. Let me know what I did wrong, what I could have done better, what you liked about the video, any kind of feedback like that. Any questions, of course. It's my first time doing the cylinder, the head gasket replacement on this car, but I've done a few others before. So yeah, so leave me some feedback if you like it, if you have any questions, and of course, once part 2 is uploaded, I'm gonna go ahead and have a link, probably on the side ones, so that way you can get the direct link from this part to the second part. But yeah, so that's it for this video. I'm gonna go ahead and get this uploaded, get it out to you guys, and check the descriptions below. I'm gonna have the links for everything, for the gaskets, like I mentioned. I'm gonna have links for even the tools that I use, anything like that, as well as for my shirt. I don't have one on right now, but I do have a merch shirt. It's gonna be like one of my little logo shirts that I have. It's sponsored by Bonfire, so go ahead and check that out. There's a bunch of different little colors. They're nifty little shirts for my channel. You can support me by buying one of those shirts. Helps a lot. But yeah, so that's it. Stick around for part 2, where we're gonna go ahead and reassemble the engine back in, get everything put together, and start it up and make sure it works. And that's it. So yeah, so we'll see you in part 2.